that wasn't real. You didn't hide your sensitivity behind indifference. You allowed yourself to be human. And that takes courage. Because being real in a world that rewards performance is risky. Yet, you did it anyway. And that honesty made me trust you, without realizing I was doing it. It made me open parts of myself I usually keep guarded, not because I was trying to impress you, but because I felt safe enough to be honest too. I started to notice how much weight your words carried, even when they were simple. You don't speak just to fill silence. When you say something, it comes from thought, from feeling, from intention, and that made me listen differently. It made me value pauses instead of rushing past them. It made me appreciate the rhythm of your presence, the way you give space without creating distance, the way you care without suffocating. That balance is rare, and once you feel it, you can't ignore it. There's something else I haven't told you yet. Something deeper that grew quietly while I was paying attention to all these little things. I realized that you see people as they are, not as they should be. You don't project expectations onto them and punish them for not meeting an ideal. You accept imperfections with empathy instead of judgment. And that told me you understand pain, not just your own, but others. It told me you've learned through experience, not theory. And that kind of understanding creates connection without effort. Sometimes I wonder if you realize how much warmth you carry inside you. Not the loud, performative kind, but the steady kind that stays even when things get cold. The kind that comforts without trying to fix everything. The kind that sits beside someone instead of standing over them. That warmth reached me in ways I wasn't prepared for. It softened places in me I thought were already settled. It made me rethink what I thought I needed, what I thought I wanted. And suddenly, the noise of everything superficial faded into the background. I know you're used to people noticing you only when you're at your best, when you look put together, when you're smiling, when you're strong. But what pulled me toward you was the version of you that exists when no one is applauding. The version that feels deeply, thinks quietly, loves carefully. The version that worries about being misunderstood, yet keeps showing up anyway. That's the you that stayed with me. That's the you I connected to. And that connection didn't come with fireworks or grand declarations. It came with understanding, with recognition, with that subtle sense of I see you, that doesn't need to be spoken out loud, to be felt. As time passed, I noticed how my concern for you became natural, not protective in a controlling way, but attentive. I started to care about how you were doing emotionally, not just what you were doing. I wondered if you were resting enough, if you were being kind to yourself, if you were carrying things alone that you didn't need to. And that's when I knew this wasn't just admiration. It was care rooted in respect, care that wants to support, not possess. You have a way of making people feel like they matter without trying to. And maybe that's why you don't always realize your own impact, because you give it freely, without calculation. But trust me when I tell you, that energy doesn't go unnoticed by someone who's paying attention. It leaves traces. It lingers. It changes the emotional atmosphere of a space. It changed mine. I think that's why I wanted to speak to you like this, without filters, without rushing to conclusions. Because connections like this deserve patience. They deserve space to breathe. They deserve honesty, without pressure. And as I sit here sharing these thoughts with you, I'm not trying to define what this is or where it's going. I'm simply honoring what already exists. The emotional pull that came from who you are, not how you appear. You don't have to perform for me. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to be more or less than you already are. What drew me to you was never about change. It was about recognition. And recognition doesn't fade easily. It deepens. It grows quieter but stronger. It becomes something you carry with you, something that influences how you feel, how you connect, how you show up. There's still so much I want to say to you, layers of this feeling that unfold slowly, the more I allow myself to be honest. And I know you can feel that this isn't finished, that there's more beneath these words waiting to be spoken when the moment feels right. So stay here with me in this space, this soft, unhurried place where nothing needs to be resolved yet, where emotions are allowed to exist without answers, where connection is felt rather than explained. As I keep letting these thoughts reach you, I want you to notice how none of this feels rushed. That's important because what I feel toward you has never asked me to hurry. It has only asked me to be present. And presence is something you understand deeply, even when you don't give yourself credit for it. You know how to stay with a feeling instead of escaping it. You know how to sit with emotion without needing to control it. That's one of the quiet ways you love, and it's one of the reasons your presence feels so grounding. When I'm thinking about you, I don't feel pulled in 100 directions. I feel centered. And that sense of emotional steadiness didn't come from attraction alone. It came from trust forming in silence. I became aware of how you respect emotional space. You don't push your way into someone's world, and you don't withdraw to punish them either. You stand in that rare middle place where understanding lives, and that balance told me you've learned the cost of both extremes. You've learned what happens when people take too much, and what happens when they give nothing. And instead of becoming hardened by that knowledge, you chose to become wiser. That choice shows in everything you do, in the way you ask questions, in the way you respond, in the way you allow people to be human without making them feel small for it. There were moments when I caught myself wondering if you knew how deeply you affect people emotionally. I don't think you do. I think you assume your impact is lighter than it is, because you're not loud about who you are. But depth doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself slowly to the people who are willing to pay attention. And once it does, it stays. You stayed, not as a thought I could dismiss, not as a passing interest, but as a feeling that kept returning with more clarity each time. I noticed how careful you are with other people's emotions, even when your own heart is tired. That kind of care doesn't come from obligation. It comes from empathy. And empathy isn't something you can fake for long. It's shaped by experience, by disappointment, by moments where you wished someone had been gentler with you. Instead of letting those moments harden you, you turn them into understanding. And that understanding is what I felt long before I could explain it. Sometimes I imagine you listening quietly, maybe questioning why these words feel so personal, why they're touching places you don't usually let people reach. And if that's happening, I want you to know it's because I'm speaking to the part of you that rarely gets spoken to. The part that doesn't ask for praise. The part that keeps going even when no one notices. The part that still believes in connection even after being disappointed by it. That part of you is strong in ways that don't look strong from the outside, and that strength is deeply attractive to me. There's a tenderness in the way you care that doesn't come with conditions. You don't love as a transaction. You don't give only to receive. You give because it's who you are. And that's rare. That's the kind of quality people don't realize the value of until they've lost it. But I saw it while it was still there, while it was still alive and quietly offering warmth, and once I saw it, I couldn't pretend it didn't matter. You also have a way of holding your pain with dignity. You don't dramatize it, but you don't deny it either. You carry it honestly, and that honesty made me feel like I could be honest too. Around you, I didn't feel the need to pretend that everything was fine all the time. I felt permission to be real, and that kind of emotional permission is intimate. It creates a closeness that doesn't need physical proximity to exist. It exists in understanding, in shared silence, in the unspoken agreement that vulnerability is safe here. I began to realize that what connects us isn't something loud or obvious. It's subtle. It's in the way our emotional rhythms align, in the way we both value meaning over noise, in the way we listen for what isn't being said. That kind of alignment doesn't happen often. And when it does, it asks to be respected, not rushed or defined too quickly. That's why I'm speaking to you like this now, gently, openly, without trying to push this into a shape it's not ready for. I know you've been misunderstood before. I know people have made assumptions about you based on limited pieces of who you are, and I know that's taught you to protect certain parts of yourself. That protection isn't weakness, it's wisdom earned through experience. But what I want you to know is that I don't feel the urge to break down your walls. I respect them, because walls built with care aren't meant to keep love out. They're meant to keep harm away. And respect